The ties between India and the US are gaining strength and momentum, with two sides increasingly engaging with each other at different platforms. Both New Delhi and Washington, who are part of the Quad alliance, have not let the grouping commitments weigh down their bilateral ties. The recent reciprocal visit by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to New Delhi has made it even more prominent that both are committed to widening the interests of engagements and deepening their ties.
An upswing in the trajectory of Indo-US bilateral ties is changing the dynamics of both South Asian and Indo-Pacific geopolitics. With key focus on integrated fight against the COVID, creation of a smooth, multiplayer supply chain, and boosting of trade relations between the two sides, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar held wide-ranging talks over a host of bilateral and global issues. While both sides plan to further strengthen their trade ties that have picked momentum in the past decade, Washington has also been striving to ramp up its arms sales in India, which has so far been neutral in choosing its manufacturing units. The two sides have also come closer on the backdrop of growing aggression of China in the Indo-Pacific, deteriorating situation in Afghanistan, and increasing proximity between Islamabad and Beijing that has been feared as potentially destabilizing by experts.
There is a greater imperative than ever, I think, on cooperation, coordination, collaboration among countries, especially among countries who share basic perspectives, basic values, and basic interests. And that is certainly the case with the United States and India.
While the grouping of US and India along with Japan and Australia has emerged as a challenge to China's imperialistic designs, both New Delhi and Washington have maintained that their objective is to ensure a free and safe Indo-Pacific and nothing more. And while China has ridiculed the Quad, saying it was a headline-grabbing idea that would dissipate like the sea foam in the Pacific or Indian Ocean, it has now acknowledged its assertive nature, with its stance urging countries to refrain from forming close and exclusive cliques. India, on the other side, maintains that its only agenda is to secure its own borders and see a stabilized and peaceful region.
Peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific is as important for both of us as democratic stability in Afghanistan. Deepening the Quad as a collaborative platform is in our mutual interest, and we must work together even more closely on key contemporary challenges like terrorism, climate change, pandemics, and resilient supply chains.
Blinken also held talks with representatives of Tibetan government in exile. Lately, the US has acknowledged and backed the Tibetan demand for freedom from the clutches of China. A few weeks back, the US Congress passed the Tibet Policy and Support Act, which calls for the rights of Tibetans to choose the successor to the Dalai Lama and the establishment of a US consulate in the Tibetan capital, Lhasa. Much to the frustration of China, the US stance has been strengthened by Beijing's consistently declining human rights record. Tibetans believe that India and the US can jointly oppose China.
So, these countries, they should come together and they brainstorm how to stop the disease and the communist Chinese spreading all over the world.
Experts say it is incumbent upon the US and India, for being two of the biggest democracies of the world, to play a key role in setting the global order. With an in-person Quad meet scheduled this October in the United States, the political observers are hoping for a clear-cut policy on China too. In the meantime, both Washington and New Delhi have a massive task of immunizing their citizens who have been affected most across the world by the virus that originated and spread from China.